Perfect, and we're live. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for joining me tonight. For anyone who doesn't know, this is Tyler Lear. We grew up only 2 houses down from each other since I think we were 9 years old. We've been best friends ever since, so it was only right to bring you on and have a we've had plenty of deep conversations throughout our entire life, but, it's always good to get on and just reconnect. And obviously living in Kansas City now, you live only 14 minutes from my house, and so we've been able to connect and you get to hang out with the little ones. And now that we both own houses and exploring this wild dance that we call life, it's quite fun. It's quite intriguing. So thank you again.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Perfect. Well, it's kind of started off, like I said, we have a ton of memories coming back from since
Mhm.
we were 9 years old. Is there, like, what is one of your favorite memories of us growing up? I know we have so many of them, but what is there anything that kind of just clicks at the top of your head when you think of us growing up?
So I've been trying to think of exact moments. I mean, one that obviously comes to mind is when we stayed up all night playing zombies, and then
Mm.
we're trying to play basketball the next morning and then started hearing things, so we went to bed.
Heard the bus? Yeah.
Another time is when we rounded up all the couches we can find and made a little man cave in the basement, in that little back room that had no ventilation, but we made it
Yes.
work.
We did so many crazy things in that, like, the basement was just we had it from your room to the exercise room that it is now to the general living room, and more or less is that as long as we had a TV, a gaming system, and you and me, we were just gaming. We were just hanging out. I
Uh-huh.
mean, I don't even remember I was telling Darian one day the countless times I would just be like almost like a robber in the middle of the night sneaking upstairs so we could get our dues
Yeah.
at
Get
midnight
the
or just get our, like, 3rd stack of Pringles or something like that, just crazy things, but it was all the time. We did it all the time, and that was us, every weekend we could, even during weekdays if we could find time, just get together and just play games and just be together, so, it was a great life growing up. I know there was a lot of times where my mom was always so curious, she's like, "Why do you go to Tyler's all the time?" I'm like, "Dude, we just game. We just
we're just
play
vibing.
games. We're just vibing," like, and that's what I still like to do to this day, is if I got spare time, free time, I'm just gonna hang out with the boys, play some games. I think it's just so easy, I think people are starting to finally realize that, like, life doesn't need to be that complicated. You don't need to do all these crazy things or, run marathons, do all those things. If you do, that's great. But, like, it's the simple things in life. Just jumping on and playing a couple of games with the boys
Getting
gets you
good
all the
chat and
dopamine
yeah.
release that you need. I was just say one of my favorite ones that I just always remember all the time is when we tried to stay up for 72 hours, and we were, like, scarcely close to doing it, and we would do that all the time, though. We'd pull all kinds of all-nighters, and then one day we just got the genius idea. We're like, "Well, why don't we just do it for 48?" And then we got to 48. "Why don't we do it for 72?" I was just like, looking back, I'm
Dream
like,
limit.
I don't know, man. I can't even go 16 hours without passing out now. I don't know. I don't know how we used to do it, but and then obviously we have all of our college memories and living together and it's a whole lot of memories, a whole lot of things that we did together growing up. And I think it's super exciting to know that obviously you and me are the only people that live in Kansas City out of our group. And so we get to continue to make those memories. We continue to build. And obviously now me having starting my own family and you're trying to, build your own life with Piper and doing all the great things. It's really awesome to see. Who knows the next 5 years gonna hold, and
Right.
where we'll end up and where we'll be and what we'll do, and with kids, obviously, it changes a lot of things, but, um, who knows? We'll see.
Definitely hit a lot of milestones together
Yeah,
throughout life.
yeah, um, from college, high school, soccer, I mean, you name it.
Uh-huh.
I think the only, hang up I have on Ben is that I wasn't a captain our senior year. That was kind of a where he made Cole and Nathan Hogue captains over me. I get it. I was being a douche at the time, but I was like, I don't
I
know,
was
to me
captain.
yeah, if you and me were co-captains, that would have been cool. That would have been great our senior year, but yeah, it is what it is. I won't hang it on Ben. The only knock I got against the great guy,
Hey,
but
it makes you feel better. I had to share my MVP that year too.
Was that, like, one of the only years that they had a co-MVP where it was just, like, it just didn't make any sense? Shout out to Cole Jacobson, way to go,
Good
buddy,
buddy.
but, like, it was just like, why would you have a co-MVP? That just I don't know. It doesn't matter what sport it is, it just doesn't make sense to have a co-anything title. It just doesn't, but hi, JoJo. Pussycat. That's cool. Well, moving on kind of to, like, your commitments, and obviously, like I said, we're kind of developing and building this life together. Being in a committed relationship now that you've been with Piper going on coming up 4 years, what has it kind of taught you as a person and kind of taught you as, like, who you wanna become?
So I definitely think she's helped me be a better person, whether it's just trying to be a better person or just seeing how she goes through her days and, being married to a nurse, like just how they work their 12-hour shifts, 3 to 4 days in a row sometimes, and then how they're able to still function. It just makes me want to be better and do better for her. And then definitely being with someone for as long as we've been together and lived together now for a year and a half, just learning how to read that person without them really like having to lay it all out there for you, being like, okay, I gotta tell you're not feeling it today. Let me give you a little space. Like just being able to understand your partner without them having to tell you, okay, like not in a good mood, leave me alone, or I need space, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think you guys are doing a great job of building that life together. And it is a really unique instance. And, Darian's kind of having that right now with all of her post-pregnancy hormones. And it's just like, at one point today, she just looked at me. She's like, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "Hey, I'm
I get
reading
it.
the room. I'm reading the room. I'm stepping away. It's all good." But you're absolutely right, man. Being, obviously my mom's a nurse, and then Darian's a nurse, and it takes a very special person to go into that kind of field. And
Mhm.
especially, Piper being NICU and Darian being OB. I mean, we're still working with babies. It's just the patience that they have. And then also it's just their genuine personality. It's a huge part of who they are and why they can be in that field is that they care more about others more than that they do about themselves sometimes. And it's just that constant giving personality that you just fall in love with. And it's very unique because, for me personally, I always say I have a more selfish mindset and more of looking internally. And so to see somebody like that, I idolize it. And I'm like, that's so cool to do. And so it makes me want to do that. And I think it's vice versa with Darian, where she sees that I have more selfish tendencies and realizes, oh, I do need to be a little selfish sometimes and focus on myself and tries to follow those too. So I think it's a perfect, yeah, give and take relationship for sure. Building that together is really awesome and it's fun. I'm sure,
Right,
as you
and
know.
then just learning how to coexist with each other, like, just because you live together and you're together, you don't need to always do things together, you can still be together and do your own things in a way, and still be there for each other, kinda.
Yeah. I think that it was very interesting when me and Darian first moved in together is that exact thing. It was like, how do you balance what do you do together? What do you not do together? I think we had a problem at one point too, where it was like we got so independent where she would just like come home, sleep, watch
Mhm.
her TV. I'd come home, sleep, play my games. And then we'd go like a week and be like, why didn't we go out to eat? Like do something. So it's both effects because you're living your own separate lives, but you're doing it together. And so, yeah, how do you not do too much together? How do you do too little? Like all the different things. So it's a balancing effect for sure. And it's the only way you're gonna find that is by pulling the trigger and living together. So now that you guys have the house together, there's only one way forward, and that's through. I mean, that's how it is. So
It's the
that's
goal.
great. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, what would you say is kind of your 5 year goals then that you're currently working towards?
So, now that we bought the house, 5-year goals, one of the biggest thing for me is whether it's 5 years, 10 years, I'd like to own my own gym or be co-owning something, whether it be kinda where I'm at now, whether I get more involved in the ownership side of stuff, but being able to have my own thing that I can call mine is definitely one of my top things. And then from, like, a relationship standpoint, obviously be married by 5 years, hopefully have a little one on the way. Probably still in this house, but I guess you never know.
Never know.
Never.
How many kids do you think you want?
I think we're the more kids I see people having, I think 2 is like, running the man coverage for me is pretty self-sufficient, but
I think so. Running man coverage right now is a trip. It's a trip, but it's fun. It is really fun, but it's a lot. I couldn't imagine doing the zone defense.
Yeah, but our
That'd
biggest
be a
thing
lot.
is if we have 2 kids and we have 2 boys or 2 girls, I think we would adopt a third of the opposite sex because we want a boy and a girl at some point. So,
Yeah, I mean, see what happens. I think that's not a bad ambition at all. It's I like I said, now that I have 2 girls, I'd always be in, like I've mentioned before on the podcast, do I want a boy? Technically, no. I mean, I'm cool with having girls, but at the same time, if I was blessed enough to have a son, I think that'd be awesome too. I do think having a son would be really cool because you have to parent them so differently, and you have to just everything about it is so different. And so being able to have that experience would be really cool because like I said, if I go through life and I never have a son, then that's something that I'll have to say I never got to experience. So that's not always super fun. But no, I think that's cool with the gym thing. I know that Brendan has a very similar ambition. So trying to watch both you guys work the fitness industry, it's a very intriguing industry, as especially since it's grown so much and there's so many different gyms and so many different, ways to attract people to come actually work out. But not only that, we also live in a society where working out isn't a priority anymore. So it's like, how do you try and attract people and, continue to educate people on their health and continue to grow that mindset so that they want to come into you and they want to, be better with their life. So it's a very interesting field that you guys have jumped into.
that's why I kinda left the adult fitness field and got more into the soccer specific athlete field because that's never gonna die out. Sport specific training is massively popular because it's so I wouldn't say rare, like, you're starting to see it more and more for each sport and stuff, but rather having the specific like, for us, our biggest thing is soccer, so having a soccer-based athlete and then being able to gear the workouts toward them rather than, "Here's an overall workout to lose weight," like, not every workout is gonna work for every person, sort of say, so so that's kinda and then I just prefer working with athletes.
Yeah.
Thought
No.
about thought about the route of strength conditioning, like, at a university, but I think private training is more my feng shui.
I would say because you've done both, right? With working with Anytime Fitness and doing like the general coaching and lifestyle habits, and then now obviously in the more athletically geared. I do
Mhm.
think being with athletes would be a ton of fun, especially for like people who want to be there and want to get better. I think that's probably very motivational to get up and go to work for people who want to be. Obviously, there's athletes and people who don't, and that's completely normal. But for somebody compared to like, hey, I need to lose 100 pounds to, oh, I'm in the best shape of my life, but I need to help, strengthen, condition my joints, muscles, bones, whatever it is. That's got to be very different, but very fun at the same time. And obviously you've had such a passion for soccer, playing collegiate soccer, and obviously us growing up, soccer was always a huge part of your life, whether that came from Ben or whether that came from you just your own ambitions in soccer. It's always been a huge part. So to be able to actually transpire that into your adult livelihood's got to be super rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is, and being able to use some of my past knowledge toward the business and being able to get involved with some of the players, like, this will tie into one of your next questions, but being able to work with some of the guys we work with, like, I never really thought I would work with professional athletes and guys that are traveling overseas or gonna be playing in the World Cup or, like, never thought I would be there, but
Well, and soccer being the biggest sport on the planet, I mean, yeah, the door is wide open from anyone. I mean, it's still growing in the United States, and it's finally I feel like at least we're getting somewhere on the world spectrum for as far as soccer comes. But I mean, it doesn't matter if it's one of the smallest countries on the planet or the biggest country in the world. It's got soccer. I mean, everybody plays soccer. It's the most universal sport on the planet. So
I think the World Cup this summer will be very eye-opening for a lot of people. Like, just the passion that the fans are gonna bring
yeah.
from other countries and stuff, and just the way they're gonna flood the cities and just bleed their colors, it's so great. Like, I'm pumped for it.
Well, because yeah, I mean, a lot of people like to look at, like, the Super Bowl or look at, like, the finals, NBA finals, and, like, those are the biggest American sporting events, and see, like, they'd be like, "Oh, look at the parade for afterwards and how many supporters they have." It's like, "You dude, you don't
That's
have a
per game.
clue."
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have a clue what's about to happen, and the last time we hosted the World Cup, I believe it was in '94, and soccer for the United States, I mean, had almost no traction, there was very minimal, so not only to have the United States now be more into soccer, but then to actually host and, like, to your point, the atmosphere and the fan base is gonna be wild, and for us to be in Kansas City where they're hosting some of the games, I mean, I think that'd be we'll see the summer, obviously, we're getting the boys together so we can all try and be around in that environment and get together for the semifinals, so I'm super stoked about it. I
Mhm.
think, dude, to fill up Arrowhead for soccer and then plus the tailgate and everything else that'll go onto there, I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, at least, and that's just for a game, and then, how many games they're having at Arrowhead, so
And there's 4 different teams stationed in KC for the group stage rounds.
is it, I know it's Argentina, England,
Netherlands and Algeria.
Algeria, okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, who knows, maybe Messi just shows up one day in the coffee shop and we're just, who knows where he could be, um, that'd be cool, but just to see any of the players, I mean, would be super, super dope.
Mhm.
Obviously, we know this only happens once every 4 years, so it'll be a great summer. It'll be a super cool summer. I remember the last World Cup, I watched as almost as every second of it, every game that Messi played in, and just to watch the whole thing go down was incredible. So, yeah, super stoked about that this summer. But
Well, then just the possibility of having Messi versus Ronaldo in their last World Cup in Kansas City in the quarterfinal could be nasty. Like,
I didn't know Ronaldo was still playing. I mean, it makes sense. He's still cooking. I mean, he's still doing his thing. So,
41? So
hey, no different than Tom Brady out there saying he's ready to play some more. I mean,
pretty
shit.
much, yeah, I mean, if you can ball, you can ball.
Dude, when you take that much time and you talk about, the sports science and all the things, I mean, he is religious with it, and it's no different than LeBron or
Uh-huh.
Tom or any of those people who treat it like a religion. I mean, they can do anything. I mean, it's crazy what they can do with their bodies.
There you gotta take care of your body to have that kinda longevity. Like, those like Ronaldo and who is it? There was one guy that was talking about he spends, like, $1,000,000 a year on just body recovery situation. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I mean, obviously, they're getting paid more, but
It's so interesting too, because when Brendan was on the podcast, we talked a lot about the fitness industry and everything, and it's like obviously everybody knows your body is the most important tool to you, and I've had a religious life of treating my body like shit. And so it's just like and it's so weird because like everybody knows like you only get one body, you only get one life, so why not treat it the best you can? But myself included, why I continue to treat it like shit, I don't know. I mean, it's just like it's so weird because like when you see like a hamburger or like tonight it was like an extra couple of chips, it's like oh, I should be smart and just not do this, but it's like you can't resist the urge. You just can't resist the impulses. And so it comes a lot like we say with the fitness industry is it's the discipline, it's the mindset, and it's being able to make those hard decisions that most people can't because everybody's given the same decision every day, but most people can't make that choice, and it's tough.
it is, it is.
But that's everybody will deal with that to the day they die. So it's just part of being a human, part of being having those choices. So, but more or less moving on from those lines, what would you say is an emotion that you kind of find hardest to understand about yourself? Would you say?
An emotion for myself is definitely how irritable I can be. Like, there's days that I wake up just sunshine and rainbows and great, everything's great, love everything, and then there's days I wake up and just every little thing and every person just irritates me, and why? Don't know, but it's one thing I don't love, but one thing I try to work on, but it's definitely something that, other people don't like. I'm not gonna name names, but
Maybe the person in the house. Daisy, yeah, Daisy's the one. Yeah, no, that's it's a good realization because yeah, sometimes it's tough. I mean, I think everybody can say that They've had those moments where they just, yeah, wake up and not having the best day, but to acknowledge that that happens more probably than other people, I
Mhm.
mean, it's good to notice too.
Yeah, 'cause then I'll, like, catch myself just driving, and I'm just like, "Why am I pissed off?" Like, nothing
Mm.
happened. Like, why am I so pissed? Like
I've definitely had those moments too where it's like it's almost like I fixate on the negative, and I don't have a reason to. Any like it's just some days, yeah, it's just like the negativity just eats you alive. And so my biggest thing that I've done is I've tried to say that I look at it like the glass half full versus glass half empty, where just you can literally take the exact same thing, whatever it's going on in life. Maybe say I got a flat tire today. Okay, shoot. Well, you could do the glass half empty and be like, "Well, fuck this. This is stupid. Why do I have to go through this? Blah blah blah." Versus the glass half full, like, "Well, you know what? I probably should have got that tire changed. I knew it was, having a little bit low on the tread. I just didn't have time to take care of it, or I just didn't. All right, well, this just needed to happen, right?" And so, but I definitely feel you there, man. There's definitely some days where it's just like, why am I so fixated on the negatives today? What made me just decide today was going to be a negative day?
Mhm.
And I think the best thing that I've done for myself is just know that we're almost 30 years old, dude. It's like we're getting so goddamn
Right.
old. And it's just like, man, I don't, you can't take a bad day. You know what I'm saying? You can have some bad moments and maybe a bad like 30 minutes, whatever it is. But like to truthfully like have a whole day where it just like you just wipe it away because of my own emotions that I couldn't just control. We don't have that many more days left. I mean, as much as crazy as that sounds, but like, you just never know. So it's like,
Mhm.
why piss away a day because I can't keep my emotions in check or because I can't think about the positive side of things? And so I'm right there with you. I think that's a really good one.
I agree.
What would you say is something you once strongly believed in but eventually outgrew?
This is one that took me some time to think on. What was I mean, definitely, I think we both were probably in the same boat growing up. Obviously, how into sports we were, the main goal was pro. Like,
Yeah.
what do we gotta do to get to the top? I think just slowly over time realizing whether it was we didn't have good outlets, like, into finding good recruiting or, like, outlets toward getting noticed by those big schools and stuff or other stuff. Just kinda going through life and just kinda, like, accepting it. I kinda got to that point toward college, I think, is when it was. 'Cause I stopped playing for a little bit and then missed it, and then, of course, went back to it. But I think just coming to the realization, accepting that where I'm at and how far I'm gonna go and not trying to dwell on it too long in a way, like some people, like, try and don't accept it.
Yeah.
It lasts so much longer, and then they're in denial for so long, and they're like, "Oh, I can go pro," and they're almost 30 and they're playing in a 2nd or 3rd tier in a whole different country, and it's just like, "Dude, like, what are you doing?"
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce our new sponsorship with West River Whiskey Company. West River Whiskey Company started as a dream in the summer of 2020. While working with Indian Motorcycle, the owner, Joel, made great friends with some key executives at Jack Daniels. They successfully opened their business in April of 2021. They started their journey off with Jack Daniels products, and after just 6 months into operations, they were approached by a business partner, Gordon Oman of Black Fork Farms Distilling. Over the last several years, they have built the West River and Black Fork brands, introducing the world to South Dakota bourbon. Starting with just a handful of bourbon styles, they now proudly pour and sell over 15 different bourbon products, as well as Black Fork's top vodkas and gins. In 2024, West River was named Deadwood Business of the Year by a group of their peers. They strive to give back to the community that has given them so much, as both Joel and Don proudly serve on the Deadwood Fire Department. You can find their website link in my bio, where you can get direct access to their merchandise. As always, thank you for your support and enjoy the rest of the podcast. There's a lot more to life than sports. And me and Darren have this conversation a lot where it's like, I do think sports are important. And I do think that, obviously having kids and all these other things, it is important to involve them in sports. And, I think it's played a huge part in our lives. However, to your point, I didn't know a life outside of sports. So when football was gone, I had a full-blown, like "Oh my god, what do I do now?" Like, it was just like, I've dedicated my whole life to being this physical specimen, or at least try to be, and then now it's like, now what? And so that's what drove me to the army. It was just like, well, I got to be able to use my physical talents and abilities and, continue. But it was just like, and then after that, I had a whole nother moment. But it was just like, yeah, you spend your whole life trying to chase this one dream, and then it's just that, oh shit moment. I think I had mine in high school where it was like I always wanted to play Division I college football.
Mhm.
That was my biggest thing since I was in grade school. That was a big thing. But then by the time I think it was about sophomore year or like going into junior year where I was still 5'6", and I was just like, it's not looking good. Like, you just, you see the D1 athletes and they're just literal specimens
Mhm.
and they're all 6 foot something and just all these things and their speed too. Like, I was pretty quick between the tackles. My straightaway speed wasn't very quick, and then just my height in general. And so it was kind of that realization of like, okay, I'm not going D1. It's just not happening. That's just not who I was meant to be. However, I still can play at a collegiate level and I could still be, somebody I wanted to be. But you're right. That self-realization is tough. And I have buddies that I played college with that are still doing like the the men's league with full pads and all
Right.
this shit. And I'm like, brother, what are you doing? You're gonna get yourself hurt for life. And I still have fucking injuries that I'm still dealing with from all those days, and I'm sure
Mm.
you have some too that still bother you every single day. And at some point, it's just not worth it. Like, I think Suey said when he came on the podcast, he's like, "Dude, if I would have been taught golf and just golfed my whole life, you know how fucking awesome that would have been?" I'm like, "Fuck, dude, that you're right." Like, well, if we could just play golf for the last almost 30 years and just been so good at it now, and we would have loved to play it. But instead, I decided I wanted to try and put on pads and act like a fucking gladiator and go hurt myself. And what has that gotten me? Some compressed spinal disc and a whole lot of other bullshit, like, or I could have just been swinging a club and having a great time, you know? So,
Yeah, but the memories we created in football, I wouldn't take them back for anything.
we did create some good ones. I think one of my favorite ones is where we both got called the N word by somebody, and we're both like, "What?" Like, you being darker than I was just like, "Well,
Uh,
no, but alright,
little Keelan.
yeah, whatever,"
We both,
but
like, pancaked him, and then he
mhm.
got up, and we were just like, "Wait, what?"
Sure, yeah, whatever. You can say what you want, but no, definitely some great memories. Obviously, even though it was co-MVP, but still knowing your senior year that you were the best guy on the team by far. And then, for me too, with football being the MVP, I mean, that's just something that I'll always cherish. That's something that
Mhm.
I'll, be able to tell my kids and, even people now when they meet me, when I remember being at Ashley in Oregon and they were like, I told them I played college ball and like, can we look you up? And I was like, I mean, yeah, you could. And they looked me up like, oh, you were kind of cold. I was like, yeah, whatever. I was okay. I was okay. So you're right. I mean, there's definitely some memories, and you get to wear that badge of honor for the rest of your life. But man, maybe I should have just swung the club. Maybe I should have just played a little more soccer back when you told me to play soccer early. I think that was one of my biggest regrets in high school was that I didn't go out to soccer till my sophomore year because I was always told I had to do track, and I wanted to do it because I wanted to focus on football and all these other things. I'm like, man, I was missing out so much for so long, and that sucks. Don't get that back, but
So, like, that's the thing that's what I mean by, like, outlets, like, what imagine if we grew up, say, in Kansas City, like, now
mm,
we're the soccer capital of the whole US, and, like, we train girls who are 14, and they're trying out for the US, like, the United States national team, and it's like, we were never gonna do that in Spencer, Iowa, so that's I mean, that's part of it, like, you never know, like, I don't wanna be like, "Well, oh, if I grew up here," but,
yeah.
you never know, life coulda turned out differently, but
I mean, you're right. When I got to college, I didn't know how to receive a handoff without being a 3-point stance. Like, the first couple times, they're just like, "All right, so what? Show your stance." And I'm like, "Uh,"
like this?
yeah, like, I was just kinda like they're like, "Have you not?" And the other thing was I never caught a pass in a game before either. And I always had decent hands. Like, I caught a couple passes in college in games, but it was just like I didn't know how to run routes because
Mhm.
that was never part of it either, and so, you're right, there's just always when you see athletes nowadays, and like you said, granted be old, they are much better athletes than I ever would be or could be, but it's just like, how did they get seen? How did they know? Or, like, how did you know? And it was just it's all these different traveling outlets in big cities, big names, and just exposure, 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 and so, you're right, it was tough growing up in a small town in Iowa where it's just you played your local competition. Maybe Sioux Falls is probably the biggest thing that we ever did, for, like, the soccer thing for you guys and getting the Dakota Alliance and all those other things, but
USA Cup, man.
USA
Can't forget
Cup
about
was a
those
good
during
one.
that age.
Yeah, I mean, just limited, though, limited for sure, so coulda, woulda, shoulda, I guess, it falls into there, but, well, I guess kind of on the same lines of something that you outgrew, was there anything that your younger self would be most surprised to learn about who you are today, would you say?
I think going back to the just, like, what I'm doing and, like, where I've gotten since,
Mm,
like, we were, like, kids in Spencer, Iowa, riding our bikes around town, just being idiots, like, thinking where I'm at working with professional athletes and even very high level youth athletes and then Division I college athletes, like, thinking that I would be in that position to be, like, leading those kinds of guys is pretty crazy still to even think about, but
yeah.
let alone telling my younger self that I wouldn't believe me at first, but
I mean, yeah, it's just like you gotta think about the journey that you've gone on to even get into that position. To think that you would have to go through all that just to be where you are now, it's very hard to comprehend. I always like to say, yeah, if I would have told my younger self that I have 2 daughters or I just have 2 kids in general, I'd be like, "What the fuck?"
yeah,
'Cause
I'd
I
love to see
was
that conversation with younger Dylan.
the younger Dylan was singing to the hymns, "I'm never having kids, I don't even wanna get married, blah, 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 blah," and here I am, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me, so but yeah. Dude, maybe one day they'll create a little teleportation. I'll get to go back and have a fun little aha with little Dylan. So who knows? Who knows? But no, that's awesome. What do you think is one of the most painful truths that you've had to accept about yourself? What did you say?
So one of the most painful truths probably would be that in a lot of situations, I can be my own worst enemy in a way. Like, I can be a perfectionist with a lot of things, if not almost anything. So if I am doing something, like, it has to be perfect, or if someone else is doing something for me, I already have a way in my mind that I want it done. And if it's not done exactly that way, then I'm like, when, like, is it really that big of a deal? No. But there's just this, like, tick in my brain that it's like, "Nope, it's not done the way I want it to, so it's not right."
Yeah. And I've seen that through you. I have people in my own family that definitely have that trait too, where it's like you can just tell you guys have something built up in your head where you're like, I know what I need it to be or what I think it's gonna be. And then when it doesn't go that way, because life just
Like,
is
yeah.
life, does its own thing, it's definitely a trigger, I guess you could say, where something to like get set off. You're like, yeah, yeah. So but no, I mean, it's a good realization to have about yourself too, though, because it's like most people would probably just go out and be like, "Well, it's fine." Like, well, people are just gonna adhere to me and it'll be fine. Or like, "Oh, it's just part of who I am, so it doesn't really matter if I have to kind of fix those things." But it's not true. It impacts other people, and especially like you said, now living with other people, to notice those little triggers and little things that kind of set you off. It's important to know because and it's also important for obviously the people that love you the most to know those things too. So, um, to get you the best overall lovely household.
Mhm,
Yes,
mhm,
the best
mhm.
household you possibly can. So,
Happy house.
happy house, right? Keep the wife happy, and that's all that matters. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, let's switch it a little bit and gear it towards more towards a religious aspect. So, when you think about faith, spirituality, or maybe even a higher power, where do you personally stand on the idea of God?
So for me, and I think you know this, like, I very believe in, like, the supernatural and ghosts and, like, demons and, like, I don't know if I wanna be like, "Oh, yeah, there's a heaven and a hell, and when you die, you go one or the other." But, like, since I believe in all that stuff, believe in that there is more. Now, obviously, I don't think we know. I don't think we'll ever know what. the more is. But there's just, like, too much going on in the world not to believe that there's not something going on in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I
But
think that
to think, like, you have those people that are, like phrase it the wrong way and piss anyone off, but, like,
go ahead.
too overly religious where they're, like, thinking God is just watching them, and it's like there's 7 billion people on the earth, like, I don't think he's really watching anyone, I think he's just kinda letting people do their thing, but that's just me.
No, I agree. I've always said that if you take the route and believing in a higher power, let's just say God, I think that more accurate to assume that he gives you principles and guidelines to follow, aka like the Ten Commandments or like the Bible, like different things like that to help guide you. But just I think yeah, where it's almost like what's the term I'm thinking of? But basically just that they think that they're so valuable that an almighty power would dictate everything in their life. Where you meet some people where it was just like 30 seconds ago, my plate fell off onto the floor, and that's just God trying to make me have a bad day. And it's just like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, let's be more realistic about this. That's kind of silly. But, you know, I think growing up, we watched so many horror movies, and we watched so much of the supernatural shit, like almost an unhealthy amount of
Probably,
horror
but
movies. But so yeah, no, but it was always so interesting to see that side of things and like think about the supernatural. Now, I have still to this day the scariest and only encounter I've ever had with anything that I couldn't explain, and it was in your fucking house. And I'm sure I've told you the story, but I haven't. If I haven't, here we go. But
mhm,
yeah,
never.
I was getting ready to go over to some lady's house. Sorry, Darian, but so but I needed a shower and whatever real quick. And I was in the shower and literally like felt like I heard footsteps upstairs. And I was like, no one's home. I know no one's there. No one's supposed to be there. You guys were out of town, whatever it was. I was like, all right, whatever. Get done with my shower. I literally go and change. I go to close the door, like leave it open just a smidge. Slowly creeps open. And I'm like, must be a drift, must be something. I go and close it again. This time I walk away and I turn around and the door is wide the fuck open. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? How do you explain that? How in the world do you explain that where you hear steps, this, and then all of a sudden you literally go to shut the door and the door it was worked all the other times before, and all of a sudden I literally take 3 steps away, turn back around, and the door's wide open. It's
Mhm.
just like, she so for me with my beliefs and everything, I don't believe in the spiritual and all these other things, but there's definitely things in my life that have happened that it's just like, I don't know how to explain it. I just don't. And so, how do you put a thumb on it? How do you put a nail in it? I don't know. It's just it happened, and that's all I can say about it. So,
That's the thing, like, unless it physically happens to you, like, there's no way to know, for any of it, unless God just comes down himself, it's like, "Hey," like, you don't know. No
yeah.
one knows. Like, I think it's great to believe. I think it's good to give some people something to believe in.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I think the world would just be chaos because people wouldn't care.
Yeah.
It already kinda is, but moving on.
Seems to be. And, I think a lot of the times I've heard the phrase without God, the absence of God is hell. And I think that's a good phrase in a sense of like, if you don't have any morals, if you don't have any beliefs, you don't have anything going for you,
What's the
and you're
point?
just, yeah,
Right.
then you're just a complete and absolute, just sporadic human being. And so then, yeah, you get negative things from it. And so I think that's, I've mentioned it many times on the podcast, but I think to have a good moral
Mhm.
cares? If you worship a fucking tree in your backyard because you think it once walked and talked, good for you. You go pay your taxes, you raise a family, like who cares? Like who cares? So, have you had a personal experience that was like spiritual or even like kind of an experience that I have had in the past where it was kind of the negative things, would you say?
Like ghosts.
Yeah, anything like that.
I mean, I've definitely had moments where, like definitely at my dad's house too. He lived out on his acreage out in the country, just it's an older, older farmhouse. Like, there's times I swear, like, I'd be laying in the living room late at night and just hear creaking, and I'm like, "No,
Mm-mm.
what's up? What are we doing?" Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, exact instances, but, I mean, there was one time were you there when it with us when we went to Loon Lake and did the Ouija board at the witch's grave? That was not great.
Ballsy, I would say, yes.
Yeah, dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had anything like, for instance, like you with the door,
It's
but I've
so
definitely
weird.
had it where, like, I've swear I caught things out of the corner of my eye moving or, like and there's, not the air's not on, and it's like, "Why did the curtain just flutter a little bit?"
Yeah. I had one other with the little shack that I had in Brookings. I don't know if you remember that thing, but Brennan had it and I had it. So I have two witnesses to it. Where one night it was literally, I mean, had to have been probably midnight or so. It's just me and Nova in the house, and you literally can hear like four distinct footsteps go across the goddamn kitchen, and Nova was dead asleep. I mean, basically snoring, and she snapped to attention and just started growling, and I'm like, "Fuck me." Like, what am I gonna go check this out or not? Sure enough, I just laid there. I was like, "Well, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen." And then Brendan was staying at my house by himself with only Nadine, and him and Nadine both were like, "Dude, we heard footsteps." And like, we were in your room, we were laying in bed, we heard someone in that fucking house. And I was like, "Dude, I don't know. I don't know." Because I was like, we both, all three of us have had the same experience. And it's like, but once again, how do I justify it if I don't think that it's out there? Like, if I'm a spiritual person, I go, yeah, well, that was a ghost. Like, somebody was literally just coming to take it out or whatever. But for me, it's just like, how the fuck do I explain that? How do I tell anyone logically what I just
Mhm.
experienced? It
That's just your house creaking.
it's the house, yeah.
Unless
Uh,
you get fucking launched out of your bed, like, paranormal activity shit, like
yeah. And obviously, growing up on all the Conjurings, the whole Conjuring universe, that was one of our biggest things that we used to love to watch together. And obviously, those are based off of, somewhat true stories, if not all true stories. And, a lot of the times when I talk about history and looking at like the origins of things, a lot of things are passed down by word of mouth. And I think that when it comes to spirituality and different things like that, that's a huge part of it, is because it's really hard to find actual evidence, unless you somehow get camera evidence, which is extremely rare. It's just more of like that word of mouth. Hey, I experienced this. This is what happened, and I'm going to share it with you. And then it gets continued to pass on. It's the same thing with myths and legends for history. It was where like they didn't have any way to physically write it down, or a language that has survived today. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that we don't have a written way, or we don't have evidence of like a picture to kind of put it into words. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, for people who think spiritually or have those events, for me to tell them you're wrong, or like, that didn't probably happen. You probably just made that up in your head. Um, and that's the other part of it. Like, do you think some of these things could just be made up in your head, and maybe you're just, like,
ways,
envisioning
yeah,
them that it doesn't? And that was like me with the door. I'm like, maybe the door's fucking fine. I'm just thinking it's not, you know? I don't know, but I don't know.
but, like, same thing, you go back to the God thing, like,
Mhm.
you see something and you then believe that it's a sign, or it could just be same thing, like, just something that just happened to happen,
Right.
like
And that's why I like to ask the question, because some people have such distinct, maybe it's even like whether it's a demonic experience or a really religious, like, I fucking saw God in a dream or whatever it is, and that kind of what turns the tide. So I'm always curious to see how people kind of interpret their religion. Some people, from what I found out on the podcast when I asked everybody this question, it seems to be just a natural progression where they just were looking for something in their life, and then that just kind of helped fill the void, and then it just became to kind of over time help them grow and become the person they wanted to be. Um, But no crazy stories yet. I'm hoping sometime somebody was just like, "Dude, I saw God." I'll be like, "Let's go. Tell me about it. Talk to me. What did he look like? You know, what did he say?" So, who knows? Maybe someday someone will come out and be like, "Yes, I met him."
He's
Alright?
a one.
He's yeah, no. Uh, we'll see. We'll see about that. But when it comes to, like, humans and kind of our creation, obviously, it's a huge topic of debate, whether it's evolution, whether we were actually put here by someone. Where do you kind of fall in the line? Would you be more on the evolution scientific side or more of the religious spiritual side?
Like, I would probably say a more evolution side, but then, like, Piper and I were watching the new dinosaur documentary on Netflix with
Hell yeah.
Morgan Freeman narrating it, of course. But,
Of course.
like, then they, like, talk about, "Oh, this evolved from this," and then and it's like, "'Kay, but how where did it start?" Like, what how was there just one day this animal? And then, but how?
Yeah.
How is it just there? Like, did everything evolve from little teeny microorganisms or, like so, like or is it both? Like, were things put here and they just slowly evolved over time and then
Mhm.
they are? Like, I could see it both. I could see it one like, I don't know.
'Cause, yeah, it's like, if you take, for instance, the Adam and Eve story, where it's like there was 2 humans put on Earth at the same time, and then now we have however many billions. It's just like but then we're all the same makeup, you know what I'm saying? We technically all stem from the same tree, and that's kinda crazy itself, but, like, did then they have a boy and a girl, and then they had kids, and then their kids had kids? Like, where does it stop? You know what I'm saying? Like, where do you say, "Hey, it's just a complete incestual pool?" But to your point too, okay, even if there is Adam and Eve, how the fuck did they get here? Who put them here? And some people will say God, and it's like, okay, that's great. But let's just say, for instance, let's take that out of the factor. Let's just say there had to obviously been 2 humans that started to procreate, and then it stemmed to all of this. And I am more on the evolution side too, and so one of my favorite things to study is ancient civilizations and kind of understand the prehistory of humans before we became what we are today, and to understand of like all the different species that were human or close to human, and that makes more sense to me. Where basically it was just a lineage of people that were almost humans procreating and being together to the finally we got it enough times that it was like, boom, this is now what a human is, a Homo sapien, and it continued from there. But I mean, it's back to your point. Okay, that's great, but who created them and how
Right,
did
like,
we
where
start
did
before
they
then?
come from?
And it
Like,
just goes on and on and on, all the way back to you can either say God put us here or the Big Bang Theory. And basically, you have to say one or the other. Basically, you have to say, yep, I believe in the Big Bang Theory, and then everything just literally chemically stemmed into what it is today, or I believe God put us here, and that's that. And it's like, you can't tell anybody they're right or wrong. I mean, it's just, you can't because no one will ever fucking know. But to go down both those rabbit holes is kind of fun just to, like, how far back can you put that timeline with the Big Bang Theory and, like, everything evolutionizing? Because if you need to tell me my great to the billionth power grandpa was a fucking fish, that's cool, you know what I'm saying?
right,
Is that what you're telling me? You telling me Grandpappy was a fish? Or are you telling me that some external being put somebody here and started this all up and now I'm here?
well, then that's my thing with Adam and Eve. Where at in the timeline were they?
Mhm.
Like, say God put them there, okay, then where's everything in between? Like, did he put them on the earth after the dinosaurs just went kapoof? Were there no dinosaurs? Like, what are these fossils like, what like, that's my part, like, and did they were they put on the earth and just could communicate instantly and we're all incest babies and,
Mhm.
like
That is the biggest stumper I've had so far, I think, is when I ask people, "Okay, you believe in Adam and Eve, where does it put on a timeline?" And almost all of them say, "Well, I don't have a timeline. I don't know when that was."
the
Okay, but
start. Okay.
that's very important. Yeah, it's like, if you're saying that's the start of human evolution and humans in general, we gotta put it on a timeline because then we gotta look at the progression all the way to what
Mhm.
we are today. 'Cause to your exact point, we didn't just start with 2 humans and they just knocked heads and
Right.
like, what did we do from there? And then how do we get to the point now where you and me can be on a computer device and we could have been anywhere in the world and having this conversation right now? Like, how do we do that? Like, there's gotta be steps to this. There's gotta be things that have happened before. So, I don't know. I don't know. And nobody will ever know, but that's why we get to talk about it.
Well, and just thinking how quickly, like, modern civilization has, like, evolved. Like, think how we went from creating the first airplane to what, not even 100 years later? Yeah, we have Bluetooth crap and, like, but why not, like, what, we didn't have the resources 1,800 years ago, or, like, the brains, or, like, because clearly we had pretty brilliant scientists, so, like, what, that's my
Mhm.
point, like, what, where are the missing pages that
There's definitely some missing portions, I completely agree, and that's my biggest argument when like I said, I love looking at ancient civilizations, and they say that our civilization, as in modern civilization, started 5,500 years ago with the Egyptians. That was, like, the first civilization. Some people argue Mesopotamia, so on and so forth. More or less, give it 7,000 years, right? But, like, we didn't just go from throwing stones at each other to building the pyramids. That's not how that fucking happened. I mean, I don't care who you are. Or like when they say literally it could have had hundreds of thousands of people, if not a million people living there. You don't go from 0 to a million. You don't go from a couple groups of people to a million people all in one location. It's just not how it works. And so my theory I've always loved is that it's just like I believe there's been other civilizations before us that have been wiped out by cataclysms. Obviously, we still have the human race and it still consists like it continued to evolve, but it just set us back. It just continues to set us back. And whether that's the plague, the little ice age in the most recent years, last 1,000 years, whatever it is, there's always setbacks that continue to happen with the human race. And right now, we're just in this evolution of period where nothing has happened globally, where we're just continue. We're just running with it. But if history teaches us, history repeats itself. Everybody knows that. That's a well
uh
known saying. Cataclysms happen all the time on this planet. Whether it's the dinosaurs, whether it's any other species, you can study it. At some point, Mother Nature takes its grip and says, "Yep, you're fucked."
the restart button.
It does. It happens all the time. So it's like for us, for humans, it's like when people ask, "Oh, will the world look like 10,000 years from now?" I don't think it'll be anything that people think it is. Like, people think like, "Oh, the flying spaces and we're going intergalactic." It's like, no, because I guarantee you in the next 100, 200, maybe 500 years, we'll hit the reset button. And we are gonna go back to the Stone Age where we literally are gonna be hunter-gatherers and going out and trying to, whatever. But somehow, some way, we always end up back on top, and that's what makes us so unique about being humans.
Mhm.
That's just my take.
Well, then, like, one thing to think about, if people are big on the Big Bang Theory, like, so you're telling me if the asteroid didn't hit Earth, it would still be dinosaurs? And we wouldn't be here? Like,
Now we're talking.
right? Like, were we on that asteroid?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, you could, I mean, and that's the other thing too with, like, anything with the outer space is what's on, like, the chemical components of those things, and when it gets introduced to Earth, and, there's all kinds of we call it, like, rare minerals, where you have certain minerals or components, and you can only find it from debris of asteroids because it isn't grown here. I've never thought about it that way. Maybe, if you think that we're coming from stems and cells, maybe it was on this extraterrestrial thing that came in and then flourished.
I mean, every theory is crazy until it's proven true, like, so,
It's
but
true.
again, like, we'll never know. Maybe we will one day, but I don't think, I mean, I think there's just always gonna be more questions than answers
Yeah,
to that whole thing.
and for how far science has come, but like we said, it's gonna get reset. It's gonna get set back. Like when Sui was on, we talked about like the Alexandria's library, and there's all kinds of libraries in the past where it is said to hold extensive knowledge on human race, and then it just
Uh-huh.
gets wiped out. Like right now, any of this technology stuff that we have won't be relevant in 50, 60 years from now. Like, I still remember having YouTube videos or, like, things that I did on the internet, or, like, even, let's say, our high school emails. You know how many emails and how many, whatever else accounts we had to link to those emails we'll never see again, and you could, like, try and tell somebody, "Oh, yeah, I had a balloons tower defense back in the day that was level 10,000." It's like, you have no proof. There's no proof that says you have that. You can, but and so I think we're just gonna get to the point where we're already at the point where we just don't have enough data saved that we're just gonna continue to hit the reset button.
Mhm.
Because right now we're so far medically advanced, technologically advanced. It literally just came if we get the power of the sun to come touch us once or twice, nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know what to do. So I don't know. It's crazy. It's a crazy topic, but that's why I love to talk about it because it's endless. It's so much fun to talk about. But I mean, so with humans, do you think that there's any chance that we were created with intention? Or do you think it is just pure circumstance that we are where we are today?
I mean, I feel like there's intention. I feel like there's intention with every living being. I know, like, Sui likes to not believe that we're the main reason we're here is to make more humans and to evolve in a way. Like,
Mhm.
you look at any animal, like, every animal mates, every animal in their own way pretty much finds love. Like, I think some of the biggest thing that's, like, the main goal is love and creation.
Introducing West River Caramel Whiskey. West River Whiskey proudly presents their caramel flavored whiskey, a proud product of South Dakota. A perfect balance of high quality whiskey and smooth caramel, crafted to provide a rich experience with every sip. The whiskey used in their caramel whiskey is double pot distilled and aged for 5 years in American white barrels, creating a deep, refined character before carefully blended with caramel flavors. Rooted in agriculture and crafted with care, this bottle represents the spirit of the Midwest: hard work, patience, and authenticity. Whether enjoying neat, over ice, or mixed into your favorite cocktail, West River Caramel Whiskey delivers smooth, warm, with a touch of sweetness that lingers long after the glass is empty. You can get yours now at westriverwhiskeyco.com. Ships to Alaska, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Oregon, South Dakota, and Utah. And that's been my strong argument for a long time is that it's like, I just don't think we're that far off. Yes, obviously we have we have our brains and
Mhm.
we can talk and we can communicate and we can create amazing things that no other mammals can.
The thumbs.
The thumbs and like so obviously there's differences, but I just don't think we're that special. I just think that a lot of times people are like, "Oh, we're just this incredible apex beating or whatever," but it's like, go if I was literally put with nothing in the middle of the jungle in bumfuck somewhere and said, "Hey, survive, Dylan," I'd be like, I'd die. I literally would just die. Like, it's just we are not that special. Like, we're just not like, you look at the apex predators in the movies, and it's just like they're fit to withstand any terrain anywhere on any planet. Obviously, make believe, but it's just like humans, we're not. We're just not. We're just humans. We don't do well with the cold. We don't do well with the heat. We don't do well with certain foods. We can't swim, even though it's 75% of the planet. We can't go underwater. Like it's just like we are just not meant to be here, but we are. So is that by chance or is that with intention? I don't know.
I'm just saying. But I think there's something in everything that's living that you have that I don't know what a way to phrase it, but like inner monologue, like guiding you toward having like children or having like making more of you and trying to like because you look at every animal, like all animals can procreate. They can have more animals. Like we're technically considered mammals, like whales are
Hmm.
mammals. Like we're not like you said, humans are not that spectacular. We could have just evolved into what we are today, and by shit's luck, here we still are. Like,
It's just built into your genetic coding to continue to make more to lay a foundation for the next. It's survival.
survival of
And
the fittest.
I think that it also is, like, just a genuine instinct when you can see I see it now, obviously, with having kids, but, like, when, you have a newborn baby, that thing literally would not survive if it wasn't for the mom. It wouldn't. I mean, it can't. If you literally just took a newborn baby and put it down on the ground and said, "Alright, figure it out," it would die. And so it's just like that constant nurture effect. But then you also see it on the back end where when you get into a certain stage of life where you're like old and fragile, then your kids come back and kind of take care of you. And it's just that nurturing kind of loving aspect. But you see it with animals too. It's the same thing. When you have, it doesn't matter how dumb the animal is, when it has a baby, it takes care of the baby until it can take care of itself. And then
Mhm.
later on, when it's old and decrepit, the young one comes and takes care of it. I mean, it's just built
Well,
into your genetic, it's just your DNA. It's just kinda built into you as a living, breathing organism to do these things.
well,
Eh
that's the thing, like, you look at it in a very simplistic stance that everyone and everything is just basically trying to fend off extinction.
Mhm.
Like, if every
Survival.
person stopped having children, what would happen? We would all die in
Everything
human.
ceased to exist. Yep. It's a weird thing, but it's true. It's true. Well, kind of on the topic of death, I know you said before that you don't necessarily believe in, like, a heaven or hell, but what do you think happens when you die?
So, I had to look up the term of this theory. One of the theories that I really like, it's called dying moment dream hypothesis.
Mm.
So what it is when you die, your brain sets off these endorphins that basically drops you into a forever dream.
Mhm, mhm.
And that's, I mean, one way I like to look at it, like, I mean, that's kind of almost how you would probably portray heaven. Like, I don't think you die and you wake up on a cloud and there's big pearly gates and it's like, "Yay, I made it." Like, I think, like we said, genetic coding, our body is, like, prepared for everything in a way. Like, when we die, it drops us into this endless dream that, like, who knows if you even know about? Because
Mhm.
'cause there's definitely cases of, like, people whose hearts stop and they are resurrected, and then people ask them, like, "Oh, did you see anything?" And they're like, "Oh, no, it was darkness."
Yeah.
But, like, I like to think at it as, like, you have a dream, and then you, like, wake up and you, like, go try to tell someone about it, and they're like, "Oh, what happened?" You're like, "I don't remember." And it's just gone. I'm like, what's saying that doesn't happen the second you wake up, your body just flushes it, and you don't even remember that anything even happened.
Mhm. I'm right there with you. I love that idea because I think I share it. I really do. I don't think that there's a magical place that you go soul-wise or brain-wise, whatever. I think to your point, yeah, your body just naturally shuts itself down, and when it shuts itself down, it kicks in those things, and it literally says, "Hey, this is what's going on, and we're gonna make this the most peaceful thing we can."
Mhm,
And because I like I said, my whole life I'm trying to gear it towards the idea of death and the idea that yes, at some point I'm gonna have to look death in the face and say, "Hey, I'm ready." Or you could have the opposite and you could fuck around and do a lot of stupid shit and be like, "Oh my god, I need another moment. I need to go back and fix this, or I never got to experience this, so on and so forth." But I'm right there with you. I think that makes perfect sense to me, is that your body is and your brain is going to release some final things and say, "Hey, this is what it is," and you get to live out that. So if you're filled with regrets, that's probably gonna be the last thing that you think of. If you're filled with joy, that's probably the last thing that you're gonna think of. Like, that's heaven and hell to me. I think that makes a lot more sense. I don't think it's, when you die, you get to go get judged by this almighty creator, and then he gets to tell you what you get to do with heaven or hell. Every person on this planet is experiencing life. That is the gift that we have all been bestowed, is that we all get to live. The downside is that we all are going to experience death, and that all we're gonna happen. So we get to experience it in our own way.
and that's one of the things too, like, it's been proven, the second your heart stops, your brain is still active for 7 minutes. So like, people like to say, "Oh, that's the brain, like, flashing all your memories in the 7-minute."
Mhm.
Like, what's not to say that in those 7 minutes, it's your brain preparing your body for that, like, filling your body with those endorphins to basically drop you into that dream. Because then,
Mhm.
like, if they're I think there's, like, a certain time limit that if you're, quote, unquote, "dead," that then, like, if you're resurrected, you're basically just brain dead. So who's not to say that, yeah, you're brain dead, but you're not already dropped into this dream, but it's your brain's already done all this work that it can't bring you back now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Your body probably has already shifted you because it already accepted what was happening. shifted you into this new kind of place, and now it can't come back, and which makes perfect sense, right? If your body has acknowledged that it's shutting down and that it's turning off for good, I mean, why yeah, how why would it be able to restart itself on, and then without medical intervention, and so no, I love it. I love it. I think that makes it I connect with that a lot. And so, death is obviously a terrible thing, and everybody's gotten to experience it at some facet of their life, whether it's family, friends, or in between. And so, but the best thing that I could ever do is look death in the face and smile and just say, "Yep, I fucking did it,"
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that's all I did.
otherwise you just live life scared and you just gotta say fuck it, and if it happens, it happens. You can't really when your ticket's punched, it's punched. You don't really get to decide when. I mean, shouldn't decide when, but
Shouldn't. Keyword. You're right. You're absolutely right. Well, if there was one thing that people remember about you when you die, what would you want it to be?
this is one of my hard ones because it's hard to like pick one thing because I don't really
Mhm.
think one thing makes up a whole person. So I think being just remembered in general, like whether it's my loved ones or the athletes I've worked with, just like if my ticket were to be punched soon, like I would hope that I have touched enough people or gotten respect from enough people that I would have like a good turnout to my funeral and stuff like that. But I guess if I had to pick like one thing to be remembered by, it's hopefully like being remembered that if you're special in my life, that I care for you, like knowing that you meant something in a way.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to have. I've always said that I just want to make an impact, whether that's good, bad, or in between. I don't want it to be, oh,
Like,
Dylan Ellis died. Who?
yeah,
But I don't care if it's, oh, Dylan Ellis died. Oh, thank fucking God. Just I made an impact. Like I
right.
did.
Like, oh, you remember that time when we did this, or like,
Yeah. Good, bad, or in between, just something that it was like, "Hey, I left my mark and I was there." And I think that's all you can do. But like to your point, like leave a legacy. Have somebody who or people that cared about you enough or take even little bits of like who you are. Obviously if you're making impacts on people's life, whether that's through training, socially, or just, mentally, it's like maybe you can leave a trace of yourself through them. And I think that's what we do as a society is that we literally leave breadcrumbs for each other to make us better. So that's what is so frustrating when people look at history and look at things that have happened in the past and they just piss on it and just say, "Oh, well, who gives a shit? That was that. The past is the past." And then we basically remake those mistakes. That's the whole point of society is to live through things, leave a bread, like let you know what happened so that you can be better and that you can do better things. And so I think that's always really frustrating. But yeah, I think you're right on the money. And it is a broad question with just, like, one thing, but it's like, yeah, if you could just do one thing, just, like, leave an impact. Let people know you were here and in a positive way too, hopefully, but hopefully not too many negative things, but I don't know, I like to piss people off, it's kind of my
hey,
thing.
you can't be friends with everyone, so
No, I mean, and then that's kind of like with the whole social media thing now and, posting things out there, it's like I don't hate when people hate on me. I just don't. Like, it's just like, I'm leaving an impact though. I made you think about me. I made you think about this topic. And that's
need
the
to
whole
take
point.
time out of your day, like,
Yeah. You can hate me all you want, but I made you think about what I think is important. Like, and that's what matters. And
mhm.
so now it's in your head. You're thinking about it. And that's all I did. I left an imprint. And that's all I can do. That's all I can do. So, but kinda looking at, like, society and from a general standpoint, what do you think is society's biggest weakness? Or what is, like, the biggest blind spot that we take advantage for here in society right now?
Ourselves.
Who we are?
And just like and again, I think it just dials back to our genetic coding, like, there's this primal instinct that we like, whether it's a country or just a higher up person, like, having to be that top person, like, why you could think about what we could achieve in this world if we would just, stop killing each other.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can sit here all day and be like, "Oh, why are we doing this war and that war, and why are people," but, like, just looking at it, like, where we've come and, like, where we could actually be if we spent all of our time and resources, like, trying to advance our planet and stop trying to kill it and ourselves.
Yeah. I often find myself too where it's like, if I wasn't so selfish or wasn't so worried about everything else in my inner circle, how many more lives could I impact? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's one thing that people just they get so caught up in their own lives and everything that's going on that they don't take 2 seconds to realize what else is going on around them. And I find myself I'm very quick to judge, and I think everybody has find can find themselves in those moments where it's like you see somebody on the street and you're like, oh, whatever, or whatever the case may be, and it's just like, why not take a second to enrich that person's life or get enriched and just like talk to them or find something else out. And so that's something that I try and work on daily is just to be an open book, be as open as I can to people that I meet or be as genuine as I possibly can because as much as you think what's going on in your life is so important and so valuable, it probably isn't. Whatever's ruling your day, taking up all that headspace, like, is it probably that important? Probably not, you know?
Well, and then I feel like social media does nothing justice. I feel like it just makes everything 10 times worse because people can twist anything into their own personal gain or,
Mhm.
I find or myself a lot with Piper, like, she'll, like, send me a video on Twitter, and it'll be of, like, something bad happening, I'm like, "Well, like, is that, like, the real video?" Like, or is
Mhm.
that just a video that people cut into a portion to make look bad for that person or that situation, like, so you never really, like, know anymore, like, what actually is going on, and, like,
Isn't that so weird where we're at a place in technology where we can see more, we can talk more than we've ever have, but I think everyone can agree we have no idea what's real anymore. We might be farther from than we were 30 years ago, knowing what's real and not real. It's crazy. Whether it's AI, whether it's like to your exact point, people playing it out to their own advantage to get what they want and misconstruing the evidence, or people just having a general perspective. Like some people could see the exact same thing and have 8 different opinions on it. And it's just like, you know, my whole podcast is based off of people's own opinions and their own life choices and everything like that. But I think there's a gray area where it's like I think some people's opinions on certain things just aren't that important. They just don't matter. And it's like, for instance, me and Darren were talking about the TSA shutdowns that have been going on. And it's like you literally for some of these people, it's like telling them they no longer can drink water. It's like it's that important to them. And it's like dude, you just got told you can't fly to your 8th vacation for the year. Like, are we really gonna freak out about this and, like, cause such a uproar and, like you said, go to the medias and be like, "Oh, these people are terrible. They wouldn't let me on my plane." Oh, it's like, dude, are we really? Like, you get the privilege to even just be alive. Why is that so important to you? Why does that rule everything around you? And so, yeah, I think it's just crazy what we allow ourselves to get so fixated on. Like, even for my example, like, they would always get pissed with the video games where, like, if I would just get so mad at a game, she's like, "Dude, why do you give it that much weight? Like, who gives a fuck?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, you're right. I
and
shouldn't."
sometimes you think, you're like, "It who fucking cares?" Right? Like,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I mean,
Everybody has those moments and everybody has those things. So I think that's the biggest thing that I can say for people is like, yes, you can have an opinion, and I want for the most part to hear your opinion on important things. That's why I come up with the questions that I think is important about life, death, religion, who you are. I just don't care about your opinion on other things, like who you think should be president. I don't give a fuck. Like I don't want to talk about that. Or like, oh, well, I think that we should change our healthcare system. Like great, go talk to somebody else. I
yeah,
I
like,
don't
what do you want me to do? Like,
I don't know. I just don't there's just so many things in life that we just live in this first world problems all the time, and so many people get so hung up over the stupidest things, and it's like, "Bro, who cares? Let's sit down and talk about the things that matter. Let's talk about family. Let's talk about religion. Let's talk about the things that matter and who makes you a human, not over these things who you think makes you human. How many followers you have. Oh, I made this many TikToks this month. It's like, dude,
mhm.
who cares, bro? Who cares? But what is something that you think the world needs more of? and you try and kind of embody that in yourself and take on that leadership role through it?
I mean, positivity in a way, like just try or like kind of like what we were talking about, like taking a step back and being like, okay, does this really fucking matter? And like, if the answer is no, then who cares?
Mhm.
Like trying to, and one thing I've tried to start doing and being better at is taking it day by day and like in any situation, like taking a step back and be like, okay, does it really matter? No, cool. Then like, who cares?
Mhm. Well, I just yeah, I've always said with leading by example is a huge thing because we have everyone wants to be that rah-rah leader. Everybody wants to go out there and just speak and be that vocal leader,
Mhm.
try to be. It's like we don't have enough people who just live by the code, like have a good code to who they are and who they are meant to be and live that life. And so for me personally, that's the best thing that I can do is just be very grounded in who I want to be and then be able to portray that to people is all I
Like
can do.
just trying to be the best version of yourself and like not being those people who not necessarily care about what others think, but so being so fixated on other people and like letting that affect their life. And it's like some celebrity they don't even know. And it's like who cares? Like
Who cares, bro?
you focus on you and like you do what you can do, and that's pretty much all you can do. Like
Yeah, no, you're right. Society's a weird thing, man. It's a weird place, and like we said, you're more connected than ever to everybody, but we're also the most disconnected I think we've ever been. Because you can't go online and talk about certain things, you know? Every time I post a clip about religion or something like that, I get comments and it's just like, "Well, I believe in this," or "You can't say that," or blah, 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 and it's just like, why not? Like, why can't we just talk?
at the end of the day, who cares? Like if they want to believe in this or that, or like since we have so many different religions in the world, but like who cares? Like let them
Yeah.
do their thing and you do your thing. You don't believe? Great, that's fine. You don't need to, or like you do believe? Cool, but you don't need to force feed that down to someone who doesn't. Like if they
Mhm.
don't, let them not. Like it's not your responsibility.
Weird times we live in, brother. Weird times indeed. But, well, I have never done this before in my podcast, but I would like to open it up. Do you have any questions for me while you're reading through your questions and thinking about it? Was there anything that you're like, oh, I would love to get Dillian's opinion or idea on any of these things?
I like the relationship one. Like with you and Darian, what do you feel like you have learned about yourself slash like her being together for so long and then in different scenarios like us in college together and then living in Oregon and now in Kansas City and having kids and
I've learned it's the selfish thing. I have learned who I am at my core and how to turn it on and off. And for a long time, Darian said, and Darian can attest to it, she followed me around like a puppy. Like, she just, anything I wanted to do, it was Dylan wants to do this, so I'm going to do it with him. Dylan wants that, so I want to do that. And it wasn't until Oregon where I think it truly became, well, Dylan and Darian are doing this. Dylan and Darian want to do this. And so and it wasn't a big moment where it was like Darian came and was like, "Oh, you have to stop being so selfish." She was willingly doing it. She knew she was doing it and just kinda went along, but it just kinda developed into our relationship where it got to the point where we're like, "Okay, we want to do this now. This is more of a we thing rather than a me thing." And I think every relationship needs to have that realization, which is key. But for us, it was very different because it was just I was so selfish in just trying to achieve all these things. And then on the backside of that, when I finally got to, acknowledge that like, oh, it doesn't have to be me first. It's a we thing. And so then it was finding out more about her curiosities and things that she wanted to accomplish. And so now we finally got to the point where, when she moved out to Oregon, she was travel nursing. And so she got to take on that brand new thing of she learned so much through travel nursing. And so for me to just take a step back and being like, yeah, go do your thing, go do
Mhm.
travel nursing, and I'll just be hanging out, and I found furniture at the time, but and now it's the midwife where it was like, rather than me trying to go, be better, do whatever else, it was like, okay, how do we improve your life? How do we, you've given me so much. Why can't we, find a way? And on top of that, she's followed me so selfishly out to Oregon, and then it was I had to take a step back, and she said, I need to be closer to my family. When we had Freya and all those things, it was like, she truthfully was like, I need to I want to be close to my family. And so for me I could have been like, oh, fuck that. Like, nah, I don't want to move back there. Cause I didn't. And I miss Oregon every single day, but it's being able to say, okay, it's not about me. It's about the greater good of us. This is the best thing to do is leaps and bounds because yeah, if our first 3 or 4 years, it was what Dylan wants to do. I wanna do this, so we are gonna do this. If you're not gonna follow me, fuck it, I'll go do it myself. And so, by far, the biggest thing that's kind of improved in our relationship, and now I can honestly say that we are a great duo. We are a tandem to be forced with, and we do everything together. And I think when you get to that point, it's so fucking cool. It's been so fun. And it's a we relationship. I mean, we truthfully do everything together now, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, and I mean that's you could probably Piper would probably tell you this too, but I mean the first couple years of relationship I didn't want to like end game was not Kansas City. Like I wanted to end up didn't know where, but just not here, whether it was I don't know, test running with you guys in Oregon or going to Colorado or just anywhere different. But then just as time went on, like it didn't matter where we were as long as we were together, then it didn't matter. Like
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
I
and
get that.
family obviously is a huge part. I
Mm.
don't know how close Piper is with her family, but it seems like she's pretty close, and so just to have that around is huge. And even if it's, like for me and my family, we don't get together a ton. Obviously, Jason and Sarah have been down a ton more now that we have Freya and now Solveig, but it's never been a huge thing with us. Like we obviously get together for holidays and we get together when we can, but like it hasn't been where Darian has literally called her parents every day for fucking the last 15 years. Like they are that close together, and so they have to maintain that relationship where I didn't. So yeah, it was just like one of those things where it's like I don't need to be close because I can still maintain that relationship with my family without being close, but she couldn't. So yep, I got to take a step back and be like, all right, well this is what's best for us. So that's what we got to do. But Kansas City's not a bad place, not a bad place whatsoever.
Yeah.
I do what we do what we can. We do what we can, but who knows what the future will hold? We'll see what happens. I mean, we're still young. I always like to say, yeah, we're close to 30, but I mean, 30's still young, right?
I hope.
We're not that old.
I'm feeling it, dude. I'm
Yeah.
feeling it.
Well, let me ask you the bonus question then. And I ask everybody this. How do you think the pyramids were built, and who do you think built them? I gotta ask everybody. Everybody's gotta have an opinion.
I mean, do you want my far out there theory that we kind of talked about a little bit, or like,
Give it to me.
I mean, I still like the idea of that. Like, I mean, either obvious, I don't know, they were there before us, and we showed up on the planet and we're like, hey, that's pretty cool. That's ours now. Or they were built a long time ago by a very advanced civilization that ended up getting wiped out
Mhm.
and we just don't have any history toward it. I don't know which one I like more though.
I
But
fall in the second one for sure.
I just like which is weird to say now, but like we just don't really have the technology to do it. But who's to say that we didn't before?
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
also like, how do you one day just think of the technology we have? Like, yeah, I'm gonna make those. Like, what?
Crazier minds that be. And I spend all my free time reading books and videos and everything about the pyramids. And it just when it comes to like outer space things. So everything I'm sure you've heard of lines up with the constellations, certain points of true north south and everything like that. And so but it's still so far fetched to me in the sense of, like, you would build one of the biggest monuments still to this fucking day, all of based off the fucking stars in the sky. Like, is it really that motivating to do that? You know, but, like, maybe there was a bigger purpose back then. Maybe they because of their religion, it was so prominent that they had to do that. Um but then it kinda runs into where it's like, you look at all the different places because there's different monuments across the entire globe that no one could explain, and it all had to have been thousands to tens of thousands of years before we got here. So you can't all explain those with just, like, aliens or whatever. It's like, it had to have been somebody who knew something before we modern day did to make it, and it's still here, and we get lucky enough that it's still here. And how much shit was made back then? So if we have what is now, how much shit was made back then that didn't stand the test of time that we're missing out on? That's a cool one to think of too. How many pyramids are out there that we haven't uncovered or got, covered with sedimentation, and now just we still haven't uncovered them? Like, it could be infinite.
Well, and, like, one thing I saw the other day too was that I think it was on Mount Everest. I read a little article that they found, like, some fossils up there, meaning that they were, like, fossils from the sea, so meaning the sea level was that
Mm,
high at one point. So, like, what's to say that, like, yeah, like, people weren't wiped out, other civilizations weren't here before, like,
mhm, mhm.
you have, like, the Aztecs who but then you look at a lot of these pyramids and they look why do they look damn near the same in ways, and yet these are different civilizations that had no contact with each other,
So they say.
right? So that's what
So
yeah,
they
like,
say.
so
Uh, One of my greatest theories that I've read is that it's like the Quetzalcoatl, which is, yeah, the Mayas, Incas, all the peoples, and then also the Egyptians, they all sound similar, and then you even go to the Middle East, and, like, all their origin stories, they all start with, like, a god or these almighty beings that come, teach them how to live, and then disappear, but it's all the same. So it's like, it would make sense if it was like, if it was humans beforehand or a culture. Let's say, for instance, there was a huge cataclysm. 90% of the world got wiped out, but 10% was untouched or wasn't hurt too bad. They were already advanced, right?
mhm,
And they didn't get hurt, so they kept on living the way they were supposed to, but then they started to expand. When the sea levels receded or whatever happened to the cataclysmic wise, they started to expand again like they did the first time, and so basically, when you have these different pocketed areas of people who survived, they were probably hit the most, and then you have these people who never took a step back and kept advancing, and they come on up and they're like, "Hey, here you
mhm.
go. This is what you've been missing out on the last 150 years." People are like, "Oh, shit, these must be gods," because how else would they have gotten to the point where they're at right now? It's like, no, they were just Joe Schmo who just didn't get hit by the last cataclysm and kept evolving and kept progressing while you guys had to go hit the restart button.
Mhm.
That would
Well
make sense.
or, like, one thing I wanna know, like, you have these scientists that look at a dinosaur bone, they're like, "Oh, yeah, that was from 300,000,000 years ago." Like, how? How do you know? So, like,
I
we do
yeah.
know that Earth Pangea, everything was connected at one point.
Mhm.
Like, who's to say that our timeline is horrifically wrong, but that there weren't civilizations at the time of Pangea, that would make sense why all of the like, because you don't just one day be like, "We're gonna build a pyramid, and it's gonna look
Hmm.
pretty much the same as those guys over there."
Mhm, mhm.
And then what doesn't say that, then they just broke off, and then now they're like, "Well, shit, now I can't go anywhere."
I don't know if they use carbon dating for fossils. They might. I would have to look into it. Even then, yeah, if you trace the carbon and how long carbon's been out of that specific living being, it's just, yeah, who knows? More far advanced brains than
That's what
I
I'm saying.
suppose.
There's no way to ever really know, right?
No. And I think that's the moral of the story with everything is, like, nobody's ever gonna really know. So, don't hate on people for their own beliefs and just but that's why I wanna hear it. I wanna hear it all because I'm open to interpreting all these different things and to people telling me their own beliefs and thoughts and ideas, and I think it's fucking awesome. So it's cool, man. Well, Tyler, I appreciate you coming on tonight. I know it's not the easiest thing to do when you're super busy and, getting up on late to come talk to the old boy, but I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts and ideas.
Thanks for having me.